good. Whenever we get the opportunity to learn about these cross-functional skills and the other stuff aside academics, we always want to get the best out of it. So I advise we take down notes from the seasoned speakers as they share their experiences on how they employ these cross-functional skills in their day-to-day activities, and ultimately how they use them to enhance their career. So without much ado, I'll quickly run through the agenda for today's session, and then we can begin. So there will be a short icebreaker activity, and then we would have our very first speaker, Engineer Charles Anafi, talk to us about his experiences and how he employs the various cross-functional skills to his advantage. Then we'll get a very short break, and then our next speaker, Engineer Eben, would take over. So let's start with the icebreaker activity. I would like each and everyone to, if you cannot speak up, to at least text on the page one cross-functional skill that you know, any cross-functional skill at all. It could be technical, it could be, I mean, not academic, interpersonal relationships, any cross-functional skill that you know of. Please, I'm waiting. Or maybe I should start. So I know communication as a cross-functional skill. Okay, someone's mentioned project management. That's beautiful. More skills, please. Anyone adding up? We have project management as a cross-functional skill, and then communication. Can I get 3 more? Three more skills. Risk management, okay. Okay, that's perfect. Come on, I can't hear you. Please come again. Okay, that's fine. At least we have 3. We know about communication, project management, and then risk management. So without further ado, let me quickly introduce our first speaker, Engineer Charles Anefi, and then he takes it from there. So our first speaker holds a degree in chemical engineering, and then he holds an MBA in finance. He is the examination panelist for the Ghana Institute of Engineering, specifically the Chemical and Mining Division. Engineer Charles Anefi is the head for so he's the head for the National Gas Liquids Business Unit, that's Ghana National Gas Company. He obtained his first degree at KNUST in 2006. Wow. Wow. And then he had his high school education in Achimota School. So we are pleased to have you here, Engineer Charles Anefi, to take it from there. Oh, I see conflict resolution now. That's good. Engineer Charles, please, we are waiting on you.
Yes, so thank you so much, Victoria, for that awesome introduction. I'm very pleased to be here, and I'm glad that you are fostering such a system to mentor young engineers and make them more capable in the industry. So without much ado, I shall progress to share my slides, and then we will go through what I have for you for today. Can everyone see my slide? Hello?
Yes, it's visible.
It's visible? Okay, very well. Okay, so as mentioned earlier, my name is Engineer Charles Anyisi. I've already been introduced. I'm a professional chemical engineer. I'm an examiner at the Ghana Institute of Engineering, Chemical and Mining Division. What it means is that I'm part of a panel of experts that assess the proficiency of graduate engineers, especially chemical engineers, petrochemical, petroleum, and metallurgical engineers. We try and see whether they've gained sufficient practical experience after their first degree to enable them to be certified as professional and practice in the industry. As mentioned earlier, I'm the head of the natural gas liquids business at the Ghana National Gas Company. The main objective there is to optimize the liquids business and increase the revenue for the company. I'm also representative of Ghana at the Federation of African Engineers for the manufacturing industry. What we do there is we have a group of engineers from all over Africa who meet and discuss the issues going on in the manufacturing industry and how manufacturing industries can be optimized in terms of their operations to get better value for every country. Educational background, as indicated earlier, I have a BSc Chemical Engineering and MBA in Finance. My areas of expertise, largely the oil and gas sector, span across operations, technical, and commercial. For operations, it's mainly crude oil and gas processing field operations, process optimization, and process modeling. That is how to operate processing plants and derive maximum value from their operations. For technical, it's process engineering design. That's basically determining the process design basis for a project. So somebody wants to build a new refinery or a gas processing plant, you have to be able to deliver a process design basis. That is the kind of output you want from the plant to enable you to achieve the goal you seek in that project. So I do that kind of work. And then I also engage in project management. I also have competence in commercial. That's mainly contract negotiations, economic modeling, oil trading, business development, and structuring of commercial transactions. I have approximately 18 years experience from 2006. I launched straight into the industry after I finished school, and I've been in it since. So that's a brief introduction of me. Can everybody hear me, please?
Yes, we can.
Yes, please, we can hear you. Okay,
that's fine. So now we'll move into the subject, cross-functional skills. What I'll be doing is taking over elements of it, and then after we'll have another discussion. It'll span across what it is, its relevance, how to attain and master it. And then after you've attained or mastered it, what next, really? So cross-functional skills, what is it? There are various schools of thoughts about cross-functional skills. Some may describe it more to be soft skills. Others may look at it in terms of interdisciplinary capacity or skills cutting across various job functions. For me, in the oil and gas industry, it's a combination of the two. So if somebody has cross-functional skills, how would you see it? You see it in terms of a unique ability of that person to work in different roles across an industry, organization, and deliver useful outputs for that sector. So this is mainly for interdisciplinary capacity. So you can have somebody holding a role as an engineer, holding a role as a commercial person, holding a role in the HSE section and being able to deliver outstanding outputs. You could have somebody in the project team who is working as a document controller, who can also work as an administrator of the project or a project coordinator. You can also have somebody who's working as a process engineer in the project. He's doing the project economics, and he's also reviewing the contract for the project. One person with all these departments. Can you mute whoever is speaking, bring in later? Okay. It's also the ability to take over different portfolios with different KPIs and deliver successful outcomes. So you can have somebody who is a general manager, say for operations. And then we have that person's portfolio being changed to the general manager. You want to be able to see that this person can still meet the KPI required as a commercial, even though the person is not in operation. So this is make you see whether somebody can cross-function. It also comes to play when you have to work in multifunctional teams. Can we please get whoever is bringing interference to mute something? It may be Ohiming.
Sorry, the host should mute.
Yeah.
The host has the ability to mute. So can you mute Ohiming? Yes.
All right, thank you. Right. So with the cross-functional skills or capacity, like I mentioned earlier, it could be interdisciplinary, having multiple functions across a sector or industry, or having the capacity to adapt to work with various different people and still get results. Largely, people work in teams. So it also comes to play, right? You will see that being demonstrated when somebody has the ability to work with different kinds of people, with different kinds of personalities and level of expertise, and still be able to spur them on continually to achieve success. So at the end of the day, having this capacity gives you the ability to build a winning team with a sense of purpose. So what's the relevance? From what I said earlier in terms of describing how it is demonstrated, you would agree with me that it's key in achieving success in a dynamic working environment. You are versatile in terms of capacity or proficiency across various disciplines, and you're good with people. You have good people skills. So whenever a task is assigned to you, irrespective of the requirements technically or the composition of the team, you're able to deliver good results. Now, because from the technical side, if somebody has that multidisciplinary capacity across an industry, the person is able to have a composite appreciation of the industry. And that is key in driving innovation and growth in any organization. So when you have to find solutions for problems for an organization or in an industry, you're able to deliver an end-to-end of fit-for-purpose solutions. And that would be an excellent output. Having this capacity also prepares one to play advisory roles in the sector. So for instance, with my experience in the industry, cutting across operations, technical, and commercial, there are times I'm called upon from other companies for a commercial issue. I've had engagement with the new refinery, Central Refinery, even though I'm not working there, on certain issues that they wanted to discuss. Various companies or international companies contact me when they're undertaking a feasibility study to set up a new refinery in Ghana. And that's because of the capacity I've built and demonstrated over the years. So what that means is that you are not limited to a tenure of service in terms of retirement. If you have, or you've been able to develop these multidisciplinary capacities, and you have the soft skills to work with almost anybody that is in the team, you would realize, now seeing from my superiors, people who I've mentored in the past, that even after retirement, they're still active because there are new jobs coming up. People want people who have the experience, requisite knowledge to project manage their projects or be a consultant for them to deliver the results. So it's a unique advantage having a cross-functional capacity. So effectively, it makes you well sought after in the industry. Makes you a go-to person by top executives. Now, this may excite people that, you know, top executives may come want to see you. There's a good side to this, but there's also a difficult side to this. In my experience, I recall a time that I had a memo minuted to me directly from the Chief Executive Officer of Tamale Refinery. That time I was a principal engineer, principal process engineer. Now there were 2 layers between me and the CEO. In fact, 3. There was the deputy managing director role, there was the general manager of production, and then there was manager for the crude distillation unit. I was the principal process engineer for the crude distillation unit. And the Energy Commission needed someone to do some work for them from top. And the CEO just communicated it directly to me from his office. So I got this letter minuted to me, and I was quite astonished. So quickly I gathered myself and went to the CEO. And I explained to him, oh, you know, I appreciate the fact that you minuted it to me, but you know, there's a hierarchy, and it coming directly to me will present some difficulties for me. His reaction was, yes, I know, but I've also heard of your skills, and you're the best person to undertake this thing, and so I want you to just go ahead and deal with them. So I pleaded with him to minute it to the general manager and let it come to the chain, and he was adamant. So now here I was, somebody who had built cross-functional capacity, I found myself in a situation where I've been presented with an opportunity, but the pursuit of it, I also bring some form of conflict in the organization. So in this instance, I decided, okay, I'll go and sit with my general manager of production, explain to him that is what had happened, you know, and then find how we can work. So I approached him and I told him about it. He listened carefully and said, you know what, it's come from the CEO, we just have to obey it. So you can work with me on this project. And that was fine. So I told him to also go meet my manager, discussed it, and we all agreed that I'll do the work. 2 of them will review it before it goes to CEO. And that's how we solved it. So that's the case of having technical capacity, without bringing you a challenge, you have to use soft skills to solve. Now, with this capacity, it makes you a value adder. You're a good team player, you're pivotal in every team that you're in. And that provides endless opportunities for career growth and leadership. On that point, I have been promoted twice in my career chain just because of these kind of things, which I'll allude to or explain further later. So now you have an appreciation of the relevance of having cross-functional skills. Now, how do you achieve it? It first starts with a desire to be useful to society and bigger than your current status. After having that desire, you cannot just achieve the skill. You must do some form of introspection to identify your strengths, your interests, and weaknesses. That will let you know just what area you can capitalize on or start from, and which areas you need to work on to be a whole professional. Based on the strengths you've been able to identify in yourself, you can then have that vision and know that I can do this and develop a career plan for this. And that moves on to you having also an attitude to achieve that vision. You can't just achieve things by having a vision. There's a certain attitude you need to adopt to achieve. For the attitude, you must be a learner, a real seeker of knowledge that will enable you to get involved in certain programs, study programs, to increase your knowledge. And it's not just about mainstream academic knowledge. You must also be curious about how things are done in the industry. You learn from your friends who are in handling other portfolios, etc. That enables you to also learn on the job and develop the cross-functional knowledge. Sometimes people get complacent along the line. So it's key that you stay focused and dedicated to your vision or career plan. You must learn to be a team player, because it's only when you work with people that you learn practically how to manage people. So you always have to try and work in teams. Don't miss out on any opportunity to work together, with people. Now, because of working with people, everybody's studying you, you must never compromise on the value of excellence. A very humbling moment occurred a few years ago, when the chairman of Chemical and Mining Division, Ghana Institute of Engineers, called me. There was a conference call with someone in Qatar who wanted an engineer to do some work. And the chairman just said that, I know Engineer Charles very well, and all I can say is that he's excellent. For me, it was a very humbling moment. And I was glad that my performance had, been measured properly and favorably for me. You must also be open to new experiences. So something new comes up, there's always an opportunity to learn. But normally sometimes people hold back because of the fear of failure or the fear of failing. That's a limiting factor to growing your capacity. And for me, failure is a big deal. I see failure as a big step towards success because it builds you up emotionally and also keeps you humble when you finally get to the top. It enables you to give people second chances when you're at the top. And one of your subordinates fails, you're not too harsh on the subordinate because you may have also gone through that yourself. So overall, I find failure to be part of the process of being a successful leader and a master of cross-functional skills. Mentorship is also another important thing in the progress to achieving this cross-functional skill or mastering it. And to be able to benefit from mentorship, it's key that you join clubs or societies that offer such programs, such mentorship programs. So you can learn from people who have walked the path you intend to walk. By joining these clubs or societies, you also learn soft skills from the various tasks that will be assigned to you in the society. You learn how to chair meetings, how to organize programs, etc., like what's happening in SB at the moment. You also build relationships with older colleagues, not necessarily in that club society, but you try and get closer to people higher up the ranks. So you learn from them and you don't make the mistakes they made in getting there. So what next? You've gone through the process of identifying your strengths, you have the desire, you have the right attitude, you're out there, you've dedicated yourself, you've mastered the art. What next? The first thing is to stay humble. Kill the ego. Like I said, in my career, when I was a process engineer, I was recommended to be a senior engineer. But the CEO at that time said, no, the capacity I've demonstrated is much higher than a senior engineer. So he moved me to be a principal engineer. So I've never been a senior engineer in my career. I moved from engineer to principal, or let's say officer to principal. Not too long after that, I was Hello. Not too long after that, I became a manager. After a year of being a manager, I was recommended to be a general manager. And at that point, I literally had to pull the brakes. I found myself literally begging not to be promoted because I felt that I had to, I mean, I was working in an ecosystem and I didn't want too much commentary on my progress. So I had to pull the brakes there. But in all of this, the point I'm making is that irrespective of the capacity and the endorsement you get, it's important you stay humble. You also avail yourself to others to learn from you. You mentor others. And you keep on maintaining your sense of excellence and integrity. Now, because of all the capacity you've gathered, it will be good to give back to society by taking on leadership roles in the industry when presented with the opportunity. And you never, ever stop learning. And you set new goals for yourself because that will keep the desire for growth burning. This is a summary of some of my notable achievements. Examiner already said, I inspired the engineering team to build our travel gas roasting plant. My role was mainly process engineering design. I was leading that function. I developed a refinery optimization model for a refinery to guide operation and commercial decision making. I also developed a method of upgrading heavy naphtha into gas oil. Never been done, really. And then I developed a tolling model to enable toll and bus to achieve commercial synergy to process 7 million barrels of crude oil. Thank you. And I'll be open for any questions.
Wow, thank you so much, Engineer Charles. We've actually learned a lot about your experiences and how you moved from one rank to the higher rank and then all of that because of the acquisition of these extra skills. Thank you so much for sharing. On that note, I'd like to ask if we have any questions for Engineer Charles about how he acquired these skills and the challenges he faced and all of that. Do you have any questions, please? Any questions for Mr. Charles? Okay, good. We have questions. So, Mr. Steven, yes.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Right, my name is Steven. And Engineer Charles, thank you so much for your presentation. It was very enlightening and very succinct for us to understand very clearly what you were trying to say. All right, so my question to you is, I would want to find out if there's ever been a point where you noticed a lack, such that you noticed you were lacking something or you were lacking a particular skill. I want to find out how you noticed that, how you felt about that, and how you were able to determine exactly what you needed to do to fill up that gap. Thank you.
That's good.
All right, thank you, Stephen. Now, good question. In fact, it's not just been once, it's been on several occasions. And that's what prompts continuous learning and development. What comes to mind readily is spreadsheet modeling. Very early in my career, I didn't realize I had a lack in that area. So I received an email from the accounting team on a budget a budget we had to prepare. And then I think it was 2007 or something. And then I noticed that as I was filling in the portions that they had asked us to fill in terms of items and costs, other sheets were reflecting those numbers and calculating other things. So I was like, wow, I don't know of this. I don't know how to do this. So after filling my portions, I called the accountant. His name was Godness. So you know what? I need to see it. So I said, oh, I can come over. So I went there and he explained to me. In fact, it was a very simple process, really. So he explained to me, I mean, wholeheartedly. And I was able to learn quickly and even advance it to do other things. And that's what even made me get into spreadsheet modeling, economic modeling, etc. And what you will learn from that is that you need to be curious, like I said, you know, when you see something you don't know, I mean, quickly contact whoever you think can help you and then have that discussion. And most of the time people will teach you. Most of the time people, it's just a few people who will hold it, but a lot of times people will happily let you know, oh, this is how it's done, that's how it's done. So basically that's it. That's it. Thanks for the question.
Okay, good. Stephen, I hope your question has been fully answered.
Yes, I'm fine. Thank you so much, Engineer Charles.
Thank you. I think we have the next question. I saw someone with a hand up. Could you please ask your question?
Yeah, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, so my name is Solomon Chawi, a final year petroleum engineering student. And I'm fortunate to be equipped with these two unique skills, data analytics and modeling techniques. And I was wondering, would Mr. Charles consider this as a cross-functional skill? Then what would there be any challenges combining these two in the petroleum sector as well? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. What are the two areas? The line wasn't too clear.
Pardon?
What were the two areas? I had data analytics and something.
Yeah, data analytics and modeling techniques.
Okay. Now, that's very good. Now, in your welding techniques, right, you will have to be able to assess just how useful these welds are, okay? And that's data that you are gathering. So in industry, there are so many things that come up and we have to make decisions on the best path to follow on to get the best results. In fact, in other words, how efficient a process is. So for me, I think that it would be great to combine these two, especially if you're a petroleum engineer. So I would take it in terms of interdisciplinary capacity, certainly. But you also need to add on that soft capacity of project management. Because when you're doing your welds, you're going to work with welders, okay? You're going to work with inspectors who will do the analysis on the welds, etc. You need to be able to manage people and get a certain level of deliverable. So key, in fact, is getting these technical functions, but you must add the project management function to it. So in a nutshell, yes, I would say that the two functions will work well together, okay? Give you good interdisciplinary capacity, but don't end there. Add on something that enables you to achieve that deliverable, which is project management. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Engineer Charles. Please, I hope your question has been answered.
Yes, please. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you. So we quickly move on to our next speaker. We have with us.
Hi, Miss Mins. Yes.
Oh, there's a hand. I'm so sorry. Stephen.
All right, thank you so much again. I would want to ask a follow-up question towards the last question Engineer Charles just answered. So, Engineer Charles, I want to find out from you, is cross-functional skills having some form of an ecosystem such that there are some specific skills that gel better than others? Let's say someone has skills in computer or software engineering, data science, and something else, right? Those things gel better as compared to someone that has mechanical background and let's say communication background. I'm just using the habitual stuff, right? So is there an ecosystem that works better than others, or you can put things together and make them work for you?
Great. So very good question. Now, generally, in the short run, when I say short run, that's short term, you may find a number of skills that more or less work together very well. And there may be some that you might consider as very remote. But because the industry is dynamic and it keeps changing, you can never underestimate any skill that you have the capacity to learn. It may not be useful in the immediate situation, but down the line, it may be very, very relevant. And I also like to close this statement. When you have skills that are so apart, it also creates a unique opportunity for you to create a new endeavor, a new fad, a new line of doing things because of these, far apart skills. So there's never a skill that is wasted. You have to create the opportunity to utilize it. If you're not able to create it in the short term, trust me, because the system is so dynamic, you realize that it's coming up as a requirement for professional capacity. That's what I have to say to your question.
Please, Stephen. Okay, so I guess we have to proceed. Thank you so much, Engineer Charles. Thank you for sharing this with us.
You're welcome.
So we have our next speaker, Engineer Eben Amoache. So Engineer Eben, please can you see my screen? I don't know if I'm sharing. Please can you see the screen? Okay. So briefly, we have Engineer Eben with us. Engineer Eben is a petroleum and reservoir engineer at Eni. Eni is an oil and gas company. Engineer Eben holds a degree in petroleum engineering, a master's degree, from, I'm going to mention this, from Politecnico di Torino. It's in Europe. Sorry for my pronunciation. And then he has a Master's of Science in Mining and Mineral Engineering, University of Witwatersrand. I guess I get it right. Then he holds a first bachelor degree in petroleum engineering. And then he has a lot of academic and fieldwork certification. Let me mention that Engineer Eben holds a first-class bachelor's degree actually in petroleum engineering, and he obtained that in KNUST. So without much ado, Engineer Aben, we can proceed with your presentation. I think I should be able to share my screen now.
Yeah.
Good. Engineer Aben.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I don't know if you are sharing something.
Yes, I'm sharing
Okay.
the screen. Click here. So you could as well introduce yourself and we take it from there.
Okay, thank you so much. And it's my pleasure to be here today to join in this discussion and dialogue. First, want to appreciate the opportunity given to me by SPE, and also to thank my learned senior colleague, Engineer Charles. I've learned so much from your presentation and the wealth of experience that you've gathered over the years. So I am Ebenezer Omwache. I graduated with a petroleum engineering degree from KNUST in 2012 and worked a little bit in the petrochemical industry, plastics exactly, for about 2 years. And then I had opportunity to do my my master's degree in Italy, in Politecnico di Torino in Turin, achieving the ENI Global Scholarship then at the time. Thereafter, I came to Ghana in 2017 and started working as a reservoir engineer on the OCTV project in Ghana. And I've been working in that same capacity since that time. I think Victoria did mention something about a degree, another degree, mining engineering also, but it's just born out of curiosity and, you know, like our engineer said, introspection on certain skills that were lacking. So during the COVID time, I decided to undertake, you know, another formal form of education. I'm still not done. I'm currently doing the research project on that. So yes, to achieve some.
Can we get them muted?
I think somebody's enjoying the mutu, so.
Can we get them muted, please? Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so yeah, so I'm in the process of, let's say, finalizing that part as well. But my main competencies are in, let's say, 3D modeling, reservoir modeling and simulation, well performance analysis, flow assurance, production optimization, well testing, and operational follow-up that I acquired practically when I just joined the OCTP project in 2017. So that's just a brief introduction about myself.
Wow, that's a very great profile, Engineer Ebenezer. Thank you. So we would have a brief Q&A with you all about attaining these cross-functional skills and how we could use them to our advantage.
Okay.
So our first question, can you provide a brief overview of your experiences in this particular industry and how these skills have played a role in your career?
All right. So like I mentioned, I joined ENI as a young engineer, zero experience at the time, you know, and I started immediately working on the field. So I just after 2 months or so, I was deployed on board to follow operational, you know, activities, mainly well testing and well test interpretation and stuff like that. And that is a very harsh environment. You know, it required prompt thinking, very high pressure environment to make crucial decisions at the time. And you are interacting at the time with so many people that I had not even met physically. So you realize with people in the Ghana office, Accra office, as well as people in Italy whose, let's say, English speaking ability is not aligned to the way that we, usually talk. So you have to be easily adaptable. You have to, one of the key things you have to do in this industry, because it's always changing and it's always high pressure environment, is to learn to adapt to change, adapt to management, adapt to situations, and be quick thinking. One of the things that has helped me a lot is communication. I know it's not technical, but apart from all the technical expertise that one needs to acquire along the journey to be able to, be, let's say, function across board, you need to develop some of these crucial soft skills that many of you did mention when the first question was asked. And the point of communication has been very crucial, dealing with people who are not necessarily Ghanaians, and have their own culture, have the way that they speak, and have many times are not their first language in this case was Italian. So whereas I made the mistake of not really learning Italian language when I had the opportunity to do so, I had to quickly adapt and learn certain things quickly, because I found out that it was easier and you move up faster when you are able to learn or speak some of these languages. So communication is quite key. Being culturally sensitive is very important as well in such environment, and learning to demonstrate or present your skills, your findings is another key thing that has helped me in this journey. So I would say that one of the things that we must learn is the way that we present, the way that we speak in public, the way that we present our information, even in, PowerPoint presentation in conferences and stuff like that, are very, very important. One must be adept at complex problem solving and resource management. So what do I mean by resource management? Your ability to manage time, your ability to manage finances, your ability to manage people, and your ability to manage material are also very important, let's say, cross-functional skills that you need to have. This is augmented by social skills that we have: coordinating, instructing, negotiating, trying to persuade people, trying to be assertive in a certain way when you believe, for example, in your point of view, and stuff like that. So these are components that has helped me. One other thing that I realized I was lacking at some point was having a sense of business awareness or business understanding. So nowadays, organizations are moving from, a one-dimensional situations to having people who can multitask and have a fair idea of all functions within the institution. In E&I, for example, we have people that are specialists in their area, and the highest that they can grow to is what we call knowledge owners. So you can have knowledge owner of well testing, knowledge owner of mad logging, knowledge owner of, let's say, seismic interpretation, etc., etc., etc. But one thing that I realized is that they don't really go far. Many times their technical advice is not the all important advice that it may be considered, but many times sometimes they are not considered. You need to have understanding of how your technical expertise impacts on HSC, on finances, and even sometimes social license to work. So it is important to have, these skills and knowledge to be able to provide a 360-degree view of business challenges and provide solutions that are fit for purpose and can be workable. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yes, please. Thank you so much. So we move on to the next question quickly. So this question is about the challenges that you face when you are working with, people from different disciplines aside your own, and how do you overcome these challenges?
Okay, all right. Obviously, having to work nowadays where we don't work in silos, we have to interact, and our industry have a lot of interdependencies on each other. Where I work, reservoir engineer, you can say is the heartbeat of every upstream petroleum company that is operating. So many times, every major decision making relies on the behavior of the reservoir, from even seismic, when we have to do exploration, to the appraisal and development and all of that. The reservoir engineer or the reservoir department comes into play. And so when you have to now deal with many departments, from Offed, you can talk about, let's say, drilling, from well operations, drilling, projects, production, exploration, HSC, all of these department, technical functions, and even procurement stuff. Challenges are bound to happen. One of the main things that you will face is communication barriers, terminology, differences in communication styles, and not having understanding of different terms that different functions use could present a barrier when you have to, relay information across board. So that is one challenge that we need to, we usually, I can identify. Many times people or other departments have very different KPIs, or let's say different objectives. So whereas I am, let's say in a practical one instance recently, I have to think about not just the immediate impact of a certain action to provide, to give a benefit to the company now, but I also have to think about the long-term impact of that action that we want to take, on the overall finances or the overall economics of the project. Another department would want to satisfy a certain immediate KPI now. So we may both have different objectives that we need to align. So when you have to work across functions, you meet these different, let's say, objectives that it will take, skills, special skills to be able to align all of these units to achieve one goal. Another thing could be coordinating on issues. Who coordinates when you have to deal with reservoir, has to deal with production, drilling, HSE, and all of those things. So coordination of tasks to meet timelines and dependencies across multiple disciplines can be challenging. Then quickly, one thing could be also a lack of trust. So in my experience, I've seen situations where, and engineer mentioned it, failure is a very useful asset for growth. So, but in some instances, when somebody has failed, a contribution that somebody made was not very sound, people could have a stereotypic mindset over that, individual, over that department. So when you have to now interact with these individuals or this department, many tend to sometimes have a block mentality and, not accept. The fact that somebody could be wrong now does not mean they would forever be wrong. You get my point? So lack of trust, lack of respect could come into play when, departments have to work together. So the way to combat some of these challenges is to establish clear goals and expectations. We have to define what is the end game here. What do we expect at the end of this campaign, or at the end of this, collaboration? Who is doing what? Who is responsible for what aspect? These things needs to be clear. Flow assurance must solve flow assurance issues. People who are dealing with production must be in charge of production. Roles must be defined. Responsibilities must be given. And we must learn to encourage open communication. People must not fear voicing their opinion, no matter how silly they may sound. No one in this industry have all the experience that they need, or may be knowledgeable in everything. So one of the things that we must do is, whenever we are collaborating across industries, across the department, we must be open in our communicating. We must open the channels of communication, and we must promote diversity and inclusion. Everybody must feel welcome to bring something on the table and not fear that their opinion could be downplayed. So the other thing is that to foster, let's say cross-functional skills, we could promote cross-training and knowledge sharing. So webinars could be organized, let's say within the industry, where people share situations that they faced even in other countries. So in ENI, one of the things that help us is that we have different operations across different countries, and they could find a certain challenge that they could overcome, and it will become a knowledge sharing point where we organize internal webinars and all of that, and sometimes just drop a presentation somewhere for people to have access to that presentation, or open a webinar to discuss some of these things. And the last thing could be, we must be able to address conflicts when they arise constructively. So when we encourage open dialogue, promote active listening and collaborative problem solving, we are able to address whatever challenge that we face head on. So these are some of the solutions that we can, use to address the challenges that we face when we have to deal with interdisciplinary teams.
Thank you. Thank you, Engineer Ebenezer. So we move on to our next question. We have like 4 questions left. At the end, the panel would be open for further questions anyone might have. Do I go to the next question? Good. So, Engineer Ebenezer.
Yeah.
So in a rapidly evolving industry like the oil and gas industry, how do professionals working in the industry stay updated on these skills we are talking about, and also the industry trends, so that they don't easily get distracted into, other disciplines? So how do we stay focused and updated on these skills?
Okay. All right. A very important question for all of us. I think that what our learned colleague said, he's already advised us on some of the things that we need to do to be able to develop the need to have these cross-functional skills, let's say, developed. One thing we must always do is that we must never stop learning, so continuous learning. An example is what I just told you. Aside what my company offers me, and I was telling somebody a few days ago that a company can never budget enough for your training. So apart from what big companies do offer their employees, we must have the habit of learning on our own as well. So formal education, taking up any education, doing, if you have a bachelor's degree, sometimes you don't have to stop there. There's more to learn. So you can learn, diversify your skills, learn, go and get an upgrade on that degree, go online. There are courses that are available. I even took, for example, I took a course on geomechanics from Stanford University some years ago. It was free, a course that is wealthy in terms of content. It was so good. I was doing that same course in school, but what I learned online had more weight compared to what I even did in my university. So, and these courses come at zero cost many times. So workshops are a good example to, gain knowledge. Seminars, SPA, as we have it as an organization that organizes seminars almost every day. There are so many conferences that we are organizing, seminars that we are organizing every time. Even at universities, I liaise with a lot with KNUST, and many times some of my colleagues who are lecturing are offering seminars across board almost every now and then. So we must subject ourselves to continuous learning if we have to develop these skills. There are also CDP programs, professional development programs that, you know, colleague industry provides, as well as associations, you know, provide. SP is one example, and even employers also do offer this. One of the ways that we can learn is something that the first speaker spoke about: networking, learning from learned colleagues, mentorship, learning from our mentors, so that we don't repeat some of the mistakes they faced, or when we are faced with the same challenges, apply their insight that they gain to make our path quite easy. So we can learn from networking. When you go to programs and functions, your ability to network with colleagues, you know, speak to them, ask them what they are doing, what are they working on, what are their challenges, etc., etc., could be a useful avenues to learn. Other ways to participate in cross-functional projects, tasks, or working in groups. It's very, very useful when, and this is one thing that I like my current manager, my current technical director for almost every project, every issue that we have to face, he encourages interdepartmental collaboration. So you learn on every task, and you find out that there's so much more that we can come across when we join heads together and we learn. And from that interactions, you get to learn a lot. One of the things that we learn or we do offshore is, before any project, there's always the two board talks, the two board talks and the morning meetings. And these are times where people share so much that you can pick from, even if, you know, it is not your area of work. So industry events, conferences. And then the last thing is to take feedback and performance reviews. Always ask, how are you doing? From your colleagues, from your supervisors, from your mentors. Performance appraisals are important to know your areas that you are deficient in, your strengths, and to be able to bridge the gap between where it's lacking and where you are strong. My advice is, first, to be curious. Always be curious about your learning. Be proactive and be proactive. Take responsibility for your own learning. Nobody is going to do your learnings for you. Nobody is going to, you know, necessarily refine you to where you want to be. Industry can help, management can help, HR can help, but the ultimate responsibility lies with you to take responsibility for yourself. Many times you have to fight in industry to get your management to know that this is an area that you lack, and they should support you in that area. Or when there are no, you know, when there are no such provisions, you have to be curious enough to learn on the job. Many of the skills that I have now, many of my learners have not necessarily come from the classroom, but on the job. When I learned how people do it, I pick it up immediately and I replicate. So these are some of the few advices that I can give, you know, to ways that we can stay updated within this industry.
That's a good one.
I think I read your second question, so I did just added that one.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, that's been answered. So our next question about ethical considerations. So how do ethical considerations come to play when we are working at a cross-functional, you know, organization within the oil and gas sector? Are there any considerations we should consider, or any ethical hacks that we have to consider when we are working as a cross-functional team?
Okay, I can have a bit of an input. I think that even our engineer, senior engineer, could, you know, be very, let's say, vital in this if she has any input on this, on ethics when it comes to cross-functional thing. One area could be in our decision making. Our members must assess the ethical implications of decision making when we are working together, and weigh competing interests. whilst prioritizing actions that align with ethical principles and corporate values. So we must, in every decision that we are making, whether technical, or non-technical, especially in the area of finances, financing and accounting, transparency and proper accounting are necessary. Honest communication. We are in an industry where we have a lot of reporting channels, and we have a lot of, let's say, supervisors. Environmental Protection Agency are there. The, let's say, Petroleum Commission, GMPC, the Government Energy Commission, and all of those things. All of those entities are stakeholders that liaise and work with us. One of the things that come into play is honest reporting of data and results, and accounting for decisions and actions that impacts stakeholders, employees, and public, and the public must be considered. So those are areas that we must also consider. Another area could be compliance with regulations and standards that have been set. These are also areas that we need to consider. How our impact in our decisions impact the environment, pollution, the fauna in the sea, and and all of those things, even our assets. We must be ethical in all of those decision making and actions that we take. Then one of the areas that our industry is very firm on is HSC, environment, health, and safety. We must be able to develop and implement robust safety protocols, emergency preparedness plan, and risk mitigation. So somebody mentioned risk analysis. These are very vital skills that we need, that comes into play when we are talking about ethics. Then the last thing I can think about is our communication with, let's say, the societies in which we operate. So whereas for E&I, many of our assets are offshore. So usually we don't really, except that we bring gas, we deliver gas to Sanzule, and we have some communities that are impacted by these things. I believe that in petrochemical industry, the refinery industry are placed in places where we have to liaise, or we have to coordinate with people who live in and around us. So otherwise it affects our social license to operate. So those are areas that we need to prioritize and implement ethical considerations to mitigate any challenge that may arise. I wanted to invite even our engineer to see if he has any input on these areas as well.
Well, thanks, Eben.
Yes.
I think largely you've touched on all the essential parts of this question. But it's very important that we hold the mantle of ethical consideration in our day-to-day work. Now, when you're working with a cross-functional team, and I'm going to stretch it a bit, I'm looking at a global perspective where you may have people from various continents, various cultural backgrounds working on the team. They may have different values. Sometimes people bend or take certain parts that they would label as being smart. But you always have to make sure that you stay just and upright in your day-to-day dealings. We all know the measurement of right and wrong. Mm-hmm. And let's not relabel wrong as smart. And if you're able to stand your ground in this manner, I think that you'll be able to work properly with all kinds of people, irrespective of their backgrounds. And that's what I'll have to add. Thank you.
Yes, so thank you so much. I think it reminded me of something that I also wanted to even say when it comes to communication and dealing with people of diverse background. When we are in a society in Ghana where we sometimes, you know, it's become very common. You see a lady, for example, you just say, hello, sweetie. You know, we need to stay professional in this. So that is borders on ethics. It can land you in trouble sometimes when you are working in such industry. So it all borders on ethics and, you know, uh, staying professional when you are working in cross-functional teams, because what could be culturally accepted within Ghana may be something else in another place. So that is just a little bit that I wanted to add to it as well.
Yeah, good point.
So I think this question has been fully digested. Good. Our next one, do we have any specific technologies that professionals in the oil and gas sector should focus on in terms of career advancement?
Oh, okay. This could be a non-exhaustive response. Now, we all know that we are in the, technology savvy environment where things are, I mean, moving so fast and with technology, and our industry is, adapting or taking technology very seriously because of all the positive impact that it has on us. So technological proficiency plays a significant role in mastering cross-functional skills. This enables us professionals to collaborate effectively, analyze data, and implement innovative solutions across the various disciplines. On a general, I would say that, and somebody mentioned data analysis and visualization. This is a very important asset, a very important technology that or tool that it could be very useful going forward, even now and going forward, especially in my line of work. You analyze a lot of data, pressure, temperature, things that you could, in your mind, you would think, every data has a value of information that it presents. So having proficiency in data analysis and the tools that aid in data analysis and visualization will allow professionals to analyze large data sets from diverse sources and to be able to gain valuable insights that will help, decision making, analysis of trends, patterns, anomalies. These are things that we are looking out for to solve problems, especially as a reservoir or petroleum engineer. That is basically what we do: analyze data. Computer skills, so simulation, software modeling, all of those things are trends that are going on that could be, will be very useful in future. Now there is what they call the predictive analysis, digital twin, blockchains, smart contracts, all of that. I don't have expertise in some of these things. I know them. I know that they are being used, especially in the mining area, digital twins, for example, where we are able to use technology to simulate the whole mining field and to know when a truck is moving, to optimize production in real time. In oil and gas, we have digital tools that provide real-time, instantaneous analysis. Now we can even do data download and interpretation of built up. For those of you who are petroleum engineers and all of that, automatically by automating our processes and providing real-time information. So these are very important. And the last thing could be machine learning and artificial intelligence. These are new technologies that are breaking into our industry, and we must, we can learn from these and to help us going forward. That is what I think. Special technologies, our traditional programming in Excel. We can never, do away with Excel. And when you learn to use Excel efficiently, trust me, in my little experience, it helps a lot. You are able to do a lot of things with simple Excel and simple Excel programming, and coding. Also, learning a programming language could be useful. In my time in Kenya University, we're not so fortunate to learn so much of programming, but I remember that I looked at the curriculum recently, and there's a lot of, teachings on programming, learning Python and C++ and Fortran and etc. So it is very, very useful in the industry as well. So these are some of the skills that I can recommend that we keep ourselves abreast of.
Right, that's great.
When it comes to technology, actually, yes.
So I think we've already exhausted this industry events or associations that
Yes,
professionals.
Yes. Yeah.
So what future trends do you anticipate in terms of cross-functional roles in this particular sector?
Okay, what future trends do you anticipate? Okay, and the second question is, are there potential okay.
I think the second question had already been exhausted.
Yes,
Talked about the
we've touched on them.
communication barrier and how
Exactly,
to overcome.
exactly. Okay, so our industry is evolving. It's evolving a lot. There were times that we were even fearing for a career in petroleum engineering, especially for those of us in the upstream sector. And everywhere else, the industries, with the advent of the with technology, things are changing. Digitization, automation, and data analytics are prevailing, are things that are prevailing and will change the landscape of our oil and gas industry going forward. So we must learn to leverage these digital tools and platforms to optimize production, improve the efficiency of our processes, and enhance our decision making across the various disciplines. The industry is also moving towards energy transition, renewable energy integration, and let's say fossil fuel substitution with green energy technologies. So this is an area that we are moving to. It's more prevalent in the European countries where they want, but I believe that in the years to come, we will the ideology of energy transition and renewable energy is going to be more prevalent even in Africa, and we are going to move towards more sustainable energy sources. Now, the government has already implementing the emission tax. That is to let you know that everybody is becoming more conscious of crude and let's say trying to move away from crude energy to, less carbon intense sources. So that is the area. One area would also be environment and social sustainability, where there's a growing emphasis on environmental and societal social sustainability in the oil and gas industry, which is driven by regulatory requirements, stakeholder expectations, and climate change considerations. So many times, even funding for projects would come with some environmental considerations that World Bank and the rest would require for them to give you funding. Our project in Ghana is a zero flaring project. That means that our operations should not necessarily have a significant impact on the environment. And that was the basis for which our process was given. I know in Cape Town, in South Africa, the oil industry is not taking off as it should with the expectation because of environmental concerns that people raise regarding ocean life and all of that. So these are challenges or trends that we anticipate in future. working across board, and that we could, let's say, challenge. Potential challenges could be technology disruptions. So there's going to be a need for upskilling and reskilling to remain competitive in the industry. We're going to see a lot of market volatility that is fueled by geopolitics and, you know, all of these things that is going on. We saw the typical example of Russia-Ukraine war and how it impacted on our industry. And I mentioned already transition to renewable energy. And then because people are becoming more aware of, let's say, entitlement and entitlement to the resources that are due them, there is going to be a lot of engagement with communities and societies for us to be able to have the right environment to work. So learning these skills that enable us to negotiate this, to engage with them, and all of those things will be very, very useful going forward. I think I've touched on a few. Thank you so much.
Yes, you have touched on all the questions, and I think everyone is okay with the response. Yes. So thank you so much, Engineer Ebenezer, for this insightful session. I don't know if we have any questions for Engineer Ebenezer.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
I can't see the hands. Do you have some hands?
There's one from Solomon. Oh, sorry,
Okay,
the time.
Solomon, please. Anyone having any question?
Yeah, hello.
Yes, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please, we can hear you.
Yeah, hello. So, thank you, Mr. Ebenezer. You've answered most of my questions. I've been looking for these solutions to these questions for a very long time. But I have a little question to ask. I was wondering, how do we decide the next skills to acquire in our field? How do we decide that?
How do you decide the next skills?
Yeah.
In our
Yes.
field? Okay,
Yeah.
I think that staying informed, you will get to know. I don't know your field, and there are so many, let's say, areas in this industry that people could be document control, whatever. So when you are informed of industry trend, the current industry trends, you will have an idea of where our world is going and the necessary skill that you need to have to be able to fit in going forward. So it's just a general thing. Stay informed, be curious, participate in conference. The very things that we've been mentioning, we've been saying, you will know. When you go to conferences, SP organized by SP and the rest, you will see the trends that are happening, the things that people are working on, and you will begin to know what skills you can leverage on to be able to stay relevant within the specific area that you are working. If you are a reservoir engineer, what is going on, what is happening in well testing, what is happening in, let's say, in the 3D modeling, what is happening, etc. And you will see the skills that is needed, let's say, to be able to meet the evolving trend. I don't know if this helps.
Okay.
Solomon,
So
does this help? Okay,
yes, Solomon is muted.
Yeah.
Okay, so Mr. George.
Okay, madam. Please, thank you very much for insightful information you've given us. Please, my question is two questions. So my first question is about please, you guys are telling us we should keep on learning, but yeah, and that is very true. So I was wanting to ask, aside from the mentorship or your mentors, what other books did you access to get the enough information about the cross skills that we are talking about. And my second question is, I'm reading computer science, so I'm much more enthusiastic about the technological aspects of my world. But I wanted to find a way of fixing it into the petroleum industry. And you were talking about machine learning and stuff, which we are well vested in that. But the problem is, how do we get to source out or get connected to the right people so that we can use our knowledge or build our knowledge in the energy sector? Thank you.
Okay. The first question, sorry, can you repeat the very first part of your question? You wanted to know the books.
Yeah, I wanted to know some of the books you've read about the cross-functional skills that you have, aside from the mentorship you've gotten from your workplace and other sources.
Okay, I would say a bit, and I think Engineer Steve will probably also help us with some. Many of these things, are non-technical, and you acquire them, by your engagement, by let's say participating in. For example, I'm not just an engineer. I am a pastor, so I happen to preach. I happen to mount a pulpit, and by continuously preaching and talking to people and all of that, I learned the art of listening. I learned the art of, speaking to people, to the hearts of people. I learned to know how the language to use to certain people. I master confidence when I mount a stage. And it comes with practice. It comes with engagement. So some of these things we're talking about are practical. When I was in school, for example, we didn't do individual projects. We did a group project, even for our thesis. And I made sure that I'm always the group leader, or I'm always the project leader. What happens whilst I'm doing that, I am learning how to coordinate people, assigning skills, assigning responsibilities and roles. I'm learning to, get people, negotiate on things. So some of these things are practical. Books will tell you what to do, but it never really give you that skill. It tells you the skill you really need to have. And sometimes you get exposed to the skills you are deficient in by exposure. I realized when I was in meetings, I really was not understanding a lot of business things that we're saying. I remember taking project management, let's say something about project evaluation in my bachelor's degree, but that was years ago, and I've forgotten most of the little details. So that was what drove me to undertake a certain course online, and eventually ended me up trying to finish up with another master's in mining engineering already. But it was just to try and get some business insights on project evaluation and all of stuff. So all that I can advise is be curious, be engaging, don't be timid, don't stay in your shelf. Go out there, communicate, network with people, and gradually you begin to pick certain things that you naturally didn't have, and it will become a part and parcel of your everyday life. For the computer skills, look, all that I've been saying with what is going on in the future points to technology, points to, things that are happening. So I feel like it is a very great asset, and it fits in everywhere. It fits in everywhere within the industry, as far as I know. It will be a very great asset. So don't think that you don't fit in the energy, and even in the upstream sector. We run with tools that are all computer based. We run with softwares and all of that. There's a big department which is just computer and IT department that supports many of our operations. Many of the software developers in our industry are computer scientists. They learn petroleum engineering, they augment it with petroleum skills, and they are able to solve, give us tools that we need to be able to work. Kappa Engineering is one company, for example, that is based in France and USA, that provides many of the tools that we use here in the oil industry. So I think you fit in. You don't need to ask the question of how you fit in. You fit in. It's just to be able to develop the interest and let's say work your way around it, and you will good to go. If engineer has any other input on this point, I think it could also be valuable.
Hello, from Paul. Fine, okay. If your hand was raised in error, then let me put it on. If it was not raised in error, you can.
All right.
What is the source of confusion?
Right. So, George, I think Engineer Eben said a lot about this subject. I think he's said a lot of it. But your question takes me back to when I was doing national service and when I was doing this introspection issue. Where conservative yeah. Right. So yeah, I did my national service at Samoa. I did introspection. I knew my strengths. I also did my introspection and found out my weaknesses. And like I said, these are things you need to work on. So what I did was walk into EPP bookshop. And EP has a lot of different books for different issues, different like self-training, etc. So I purchased a number of books from EPP Books. I read a lot. Then, after getting the theoretical perspective of achieving whatever you want to achieve in terms of skills, like Eben said, you need to practically engage in it. So you need to not avoid instances where that skill will be called upon because you don't have the capacity or you're afraid of failing. So I didn't really like speaking in public, all right? And I always, at first, I didn't want to, take on such roles. But then because I wanted to build that capacity, I started accepting those roles. Another thing I didn't like doing was taking minutes of meetings. I just didn't like it. I just hated it. But I knew that the only way to improve that or get over that weakness was to actually engage in it. So then I started playing the role of a secretary for meetings. I mean, it was so terrible for me in the initial stages. But with time, I got so proficient in it. So for me, I think that you read your books and take on the roles that require those skills. Yeah, so that's how I have to think. Thanks.
Okay, good. Thank you so much, Engineer Charles, for this insight. And also, Engineer Veneza, thank you so much for sharing this with us. I took some notes anyway, so I'd like to quickly rush through it, what we learned today. So first of all, during Engineer Charles's presentation, he talked about the definition for cross-functional skills, and he explained how it is the ability to work with different kind of people from different personalities, and how attaining these skills could make you more versatile and the most go-to person. So in attaining these skills, we ought to receive mentorship from other people who have attained, those heights that we want to attain. And also, so these are some of the skills mentioned aside what we listed down in the beginning of this webinar. So we clearly explained how communication plays a vital role when you want to attain these cross-functional skills to enhance your career or for personal development, and also the ability to manage time and people, the ability to multitask, the ability to, learn different things at a go. We've also shared insights about how to overcome the challenges that arise when you are employing these cross-functional skills, most importantly, focusing on the language barrier and going out for webinars like this, you know, showing up at events, taking online courses, and all of those things help build you up for career progression. Yes, I think I've summarized most of it. Yes, yes, please, we could share the slide. Someone is asking if they can have access to the slides. So yes, thank you so much for this insightful session, Engineer Charles, Engineer Ebenezer. We really appreciate your time, and thank you for impacting us positively. At least now we've learned to add other skill sets to ourselves to improve our personality aside the stuff or the academic things that we learn in class. Thank you so much for the insight. I don't know if Clement would like to add something. Let me stop sharing.
Thank you, Vic, for this particular opportunity and offer. So I think I've wasted much time, but quick notice. The SP Ghana section is trying its possible best to organize activities that should impact the lives of young people who are willing to work and then have an impact on the community. So day in, day out, there's going to be some webinars, there's going to be technical presentations and so on. And I advise each and every one of us to try and participate in order to get this insightful knowledge. There are things you cannot get in class, right? It's only from people that are experienced in terms of the field that we have chosen in order to talk about. Okay, because some experiences are gotten from the field and not in class. All right. So let's do well, and you can reach us on all social media by just typing SP Ghana, and then I think everything that we post in there you'll be able to have access to. But a quick addition to all that it said, you know, as young people, I would also advise that we make good use of the internet. There's a whole lot of information going on the internet. Whatever skill you need, you can actually get it on the internet. How to use Excel, how to communicate effectively, and all these things. All these information is out there on the internet, right? So it's very important to make very good use of the internet, and then probably I think we can develop some skills out of that. Okay, it's not everything that you have to get it from the book. Sometimes you have professionals posting stuff. You just follow them and then you learn as such from them. But at the same, I would also like to thank Charles and then Eben for this particular opportunity, and then coming on board to share this insightful knowledge with us. We are much grateful. On that note, Vic, kindly close the session, and then I think can depart from here. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. And thank you to Clement for the opportunity to moderate this session. Thank you, Engineer Charles and Engineer Eben, for the knowledge you've impacted on us. And thank you everyone for joining. Kindly follow SPE on all social media platforms so that in case there is any update about webinars or any events, you wouldn't miss it. Thank you.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure.
All the best. Thanks.